Hey y'all, my name's Lana and I live right outside of good old Huntsville, Alabama. And I love cooking, and due to a lot of requests from my friends, I've decided to start posting my recipes. So I hope you guys choose to follow me. You can follow me at Lana's Place Southern Cooking. And as you see, I'm very Southern, so a lot of my favorite recipes are Southern, and I'm gonna share some of those with you guys. And no better place to start than biscuits, right? So let's go over here and get started. Okay, there's a lot of great biscuit recipes. I've made a lot of them, but my favorite one is with butter and buttermilk, of course. It's not the way my grandma made them. She made them with Crisco, and those make great biscuits. But this particular one, it always turns out really great, and I think it's a foolproof recipe, so I'm going to share that with you today. So first, let me grab my butter. Now, I put my butter in the freezer. It's the fastest way to do it. So I'm going to use 1 stick of unsalted butter, and you really need to leave it in the freezer for about an hour. You can freeze it overnight, but if it's too hard, it's a little bit harder to grate. So you may want to let it sit out a few minutes just to soften slightly. So that's the trick to making them fast and easy, is you just grate the butter. And then you don't even have to cut it into your flour. So let me turn you around here so you can see what I'm doing. And there we go. I think you can see that. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my box grater here and I'm gonna grate this butter. Now, kind of a neat little fact is this bowl that I'm using, my mother gave me, and she got this bowl as a wedding gift. And she used it for many years as her banana pudding bowl, which is another recipe that I'll be sharing with you guys later. So watch your fingers here, because this thing can get slippery. So this is probably not a part that you would want your kids to help you with, because I have cut my finger more than one time, let me tell you. But this is the perfect consistency on the butter. Like I said, I left it in the freezer for just about 1 hour, and it is hard enough where I can grate it and it stay together, but not so tough that I struggle with it. So get down to that little end piece there. Okay, that is it. I'm gonna clean it all out. All right, so we're done with that guy. All right, now I'm gonna use white lily flour, and I use self-rising flour, which you can see right here. And what that means, if you don't already know it, it already has your baking powder and your salt in there, all your leavening ingredients, so you don't have to take the time to add them, which is a really great shortcut. And if you're not from the South, then you may not be familiar with white lily, but it is common around here, and I'm pretty sure it is a Southern favorite. Now, I use about 2 3/4 cups, and truthfully, this doesn't have to be exact. As you see, I'm not getting true cup measurements because I'm just reaching in the bag, and that's okay. As long as you're somewhere near 3 cups of flour, between 2.5 and 3 cups, it's going to turn out great. So my last scoop here, I'm going to do a scant cup, and I'm going to get about 3/4 of it. So there we go. So now I'm going to use my clean hands, and I'm going to toss this butter around in the flour. And if you can see what I'm doing here, I want to break up the butter just a little bit. Any lumps, big lumps I should say, you want to break up and just kind of gently mix that butter in with your flour. And of course, make a big mess like I'm doing, because it's the only way to make good biscuits, right? So just like this. Okay. Oh, there's a big piece. I'll get that. But it's good to have lots of texture and lots of big chunks, because you want those air pockets to form and create that flaky goodness that a biscuit should have. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stick this back in the freezer. Just let me wash my hands quick. I'm gonna stick this back in the freezer for between 5 and 10 minutes, and I'm just gonna let that butter re-harden before we go ahead and mix our buttermilk in. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back, and I've just taken my bowl of my butter and my flour out of the freezer. So now we're gonna go ahead and add the buttermilk. So let me just move you guys a little bit so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I would like to say an exact measurement on the buttermilk, but it really just depends on the day. I'm gonna add about 1 cup, but that's give or take. So you really just have to learn the consistency that you're looking for. Now I will make a little well in the center of my bowl there. Just push all the flour to the side. Now I'm gonna add about 1 cup. Now I'm gonna just stir it together, and we're gonna see how that looks. Okay, see how dry that still is? Can you see that? We're gonna add some more, because we know we don't have enough. So I'm gonna add about another ½ cup in there and continue to fold that in. But you don't have to be real gentle with it at this stage, honestly. I mean, you don't want tough biscuits, so you don't want to just mix it forever, but you can be a little rough. We're still not there. Okay, we are there. All right. So now we've got our dough good and wet, but not too wet. But as you see, it's moist. It's created a dough. You can still see a little bit of dry bits running through it, and that's what we want. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to put some bench flour down. I have some parchment paper out on my counter, which I find helps with the mess just a little bit, although I always get off of it. Now I want to put a good bit of flour down because my dough's pretty wet. I probably could have held back on a couple tablespoons of that buttermilk, but I went a little crazy with it. So that's okay. It's okay if your dough's a little bit drier than mine is when it comes out of the bowl. But if it's a little bit wetter, just put more flour down and no problem. All right, so this is the fun part. This is when we get to turn it into biscuits. So I'm scooping up a little bit and putting it on the top here. You guys can see. And first thing I'm going to do is just kind of incorporate some of that flour. I'm going to fold it a couple of times just to get it where I want it, where it's holding together, okay? So that's where I want it. Make sure that I've got plenty of flour so I don't let this stick. Now I'm going to press this out. All right, let me move you guys just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, now You can use a rolling pin, but I find it's not necessary. So now I'm gonna fold this over, just like I was folding a shirt. Okay, now I pat it out this way, flat again, and then I fold it over this way. Now that's 2 folds, right? Pat it out again. Make sure my dough's not sticking. And 3 times. Okay? Get your flour under there and make sure we're good. Add a little bit. Pat it out again. Okay? And now this is our 4th time. We stuck a little bit there. Okay? All right. So, 4 folds, guys. You can do one more, but we're gonna stick with 4. I'm gonna add just a bit more so my biscuits don't stick. So, all right. Now, I'm gonna leave mine pretty thick because I like big biscuits. Now, depending on how big you cut them, this recipe is gonna get you between 5 and 6 biscuits, okay? So, you can see here about where we are on thickness. I've got my dough about 1 inch thick right now, okay? I'm gonna rinse my hands really quick, then we're gonna cut them out. All right, so let me get my biscuit cutter. All right. Now I have my oven preheated to 485 degrees. You can go all the way up to 500, but you don't want to go below 475 because you want them to bake hot and fast, okay? I also have my iron skillet ready here, okay? And I've just lightly buttered the bottom. Now, I think biscuits bake best in some type of cast iron, but you don't have to. If you don't have it, you can bake them just on a cookie sheet, on a piece of parchment paper. If you separate your biscuits where they're not touching, they're gonna be crispier and a little flatter. If you push them together in something, like you bake them in a pie plate, they're gonna rise on each other, okay? If they're touching, they're gonna grab on and they're gonna rise, and that's typically how I like to make biscuits. So let's go ahead and get them in the pan. I'm gonna flour my cutter. I'm gonna start right here on the edge. I'm gonna press straight down. I'm gonna lift up, okay? Do not twist. If you twist, you seal the edges of that biscuit and they're not gonna rise as high, okay? So I'm gonna start putting them in my pan here, and I'm gonna keep on cutting. And I'm gonna try to have the least amount of scraps of dough that I can. I kind of dust the bottom of mine too. That way it doesn't create like a gummy paste with the butter. And I do not like to gather up my dough and re-knead it to make biscuits, because if you do that, you're gonna get tougher biscuits, and those just aren't as pretty. So I try to get as many biscuits as I can with the first pass of the cutter. And I gotta say, they're looking good. So there we go. My son always wants the center biscuit because, you know, he's at that stage where he doesn't like anything crispy. Isn't that how every kid does? Although I wasn't like that at all. I wanted everything burnt when I was a kid. So I'm going to put one in the center there. I'll show you guys how I've arranged them in the pan here in just a second. I'm going to keep cutting. I think I'm going to be able to get 2 more here. So I'll get a really full pan. Now this one here, I'm going to kind of just push it together. If you see, I'm not really kneading it. I'm just pushing that dough back together. And actually, it doesn't really hurt anything at this point. If you wanted to, you could fold it over again if it was necessary, so you didn't have any ridges running through the biscuit. But I'm going to just do one more, because honestly, that's all the room I have in my pan. So, all right, there we go. Looking good. Got a nice full pan of biscuits here. All right, so take a look. You see how I have them arranged where they're just touching? That's what you want to see right there. That way they're going to be puffy, they're going to rise on each other, but they're still going to have great crispy edges, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get those in the oven with my dirty hands. So there we go. You want to put them about in the center of the oven. I put them on the top rack because I have my rack lowered a little bit. We're going to bake them about 20 minutes. It's hard to say exactly how long to bake them because it depends on your oven, depends on the day. That's the beauty of Southern cooking, is it really is taught. You know, you have to experience it and, you know, just practice. You know, that's what's fun about it. So I'm going to see you guys in about 20 minutes. Hey y'all, I'm back and the biscuits are ready. So let's get them out here. Man, look at that. Beautiful. Now, I have melted about 3 tablespoons, half a stick of salted butter for the top. And I think that that really makes a difference in the taste if you give it that little touch of salt at the end. Now, if for some reason you don't have salted butter, because I buy unsalted a lot, I just add a couple sprinkles of my salt shaker into the top of it when I'm melting it. Same difference. But it does change the taste. You want that saltiness. So I'm going to really just soak my biscuits with the butter. Not that we need it anymore, right? Oh man, you hear that sizzle? These are going to be fabulous. So I just want a good coating on the top of each biscuit. That looks perfect. All right, so now I'm gonna let them cool for a second. I'm gonna get them on a plate and let's break into one and take a look. All right, they've cooled long enough for me to touch them. And we're going to break into one and let you take a look. And if you'll see, I've got an audience patiently waiting. I got some biscuit-loving dogs, let me tell you. Okay, let me just turn this where you guys can see me. So I'm going to just... Ooh, they're still a little warm. Man. Ooh, that's good. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that steam, but, oh man. Now at this point, you know, you could add even more butter to it if you wanted. Delicious. You can't beat a hot buttermilk biscuit. I really appreciate you guys watching me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you try my recipe. And I hope that you tune in for more because there's going to be lots to come. Again, it's Lana's Place, Southern Cooking. So please follow me. And please message me if you have any requests or questions. And thanks a lot. And I'll see you guys next time.